Yeah, exactly. And how we're doing stuff together is all about community.
Everybody's self-driving.
Yes, the only thing that's real.
Next episode, Chasing the Ride.
Yes, here we are.
I am stoked. We got this beautiful Harley-Davidson dealership, Mile High Parker. We have the man himself, the world-renowned.
Yeah, that's right.
I just, like, big titles and stuff like that. Robby, Scott, Phil, and we're going to talk about motorcycles and stuff.
Yeah. So, Robby, you and I have kind of known each other off and on for the last, few years. Started with the Christmas toy run, things like that. And you were up at the Aurora shop back then. But what I don't know is, tell me how you ended up here. Tell me about how motorcycles got involved in your life.
Wow. Well, my past isn't really any different than a lot of the stories you hear. Grew up, mini bikes on the streets of Brooklyn, New York. Pretty much anything that you could squeeze a lawnmower motor into two wheels and a frame. And, dirt through my teenage years and things like that. I think I was about 12 years old, and my older sister had a guy that was courting her, and he was trying to impress her. So he came over to the house with a moped. And I was like, well, I'd love to ride that moped. So he gave me a quick tutorial on how everything worked, and he set me loose, and I rode that thing for about 100 feet right into a bush and put the head right over the handlebars.
Nice.
So he went from hero to zero real quick with my sister, because I was her little baby brother, right?
Yeah. Right.
So, but I'll tell you what, in that 100 feet, before I went over those handlebars, I felt something I had never felt before. And it was a freedom with that wind going through my face, And I think, and I can't tell you the time frame because, they get distorted as right? But sometime later, for the first time, I saw the movie Easy Rider. And from that day forward, I always wanted to be Billy. I wanted to be Dennis Hopper from Easy Rider. So I've been chasing that my whole life.
Yeah.
So I became an enthusiast. I pretty much cut my teeth on a 250 Honda Rebel, 1986 250 Honda Rebel. I think I put 25,000 miles on that thing around the city of Denver.
Yeah.
I mean, I never really did a whole lot of highway, but boy, I sure did ride the Metropolitan a lot. So, and then from there, street bikes, Hondas, Kawasaki's, Suzuki's. I've pretty much ridden every brand that there is out there. And I'm going to give a shout out to one guy, one of my oldest friends, Francis Welsh. He would always give me, razz me about not riding a Harley. And he said, I know you've ridden everything there is to ride, but you've never ridden anything with soul. You made a comment before we came on about things having soul.
Yep.
And he's like, there's just nothing like a Harley-Davidson underneath you. So probably about 6 months after he said that to me, he let me ride his Harley. It was a 96 lowrider. And I got out on that thing. And when I got back, he was pretty aggravated with me because he probably expected me to be gone for 10 minutes. I was gone for like 45.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I was like, you're right, man. I've never felt anything like this before.
Yeah.
And
I love that. It gave me chills a little bit. We tell that story. Yeah. That's really cool.
Right. But but that's really what it's about for me. I am very much driven by passion. So with that, I look for the passion in everything I do. And, I felt like Harley has a passion that I'd never felt before. And it still took me a few years to get on a Harley. But then when I finally did, I've just never looked back. Quick story, I got my degree in business management with a specialty in restaurants. I wanted to be, the guy, creating the next big restaurant chain. That was what I wanted to do. And after I did that for about 24 years, I decided, well, maybe I'll go another direction. And then I went into call center management. I did that for about a decade. And I was in
some lives.
I have.
And that's all high pressure stuff. Kitchen
Call
stuff,
center management.
boiler room, call center. I mean,
Yeah. Operations support manager overseeing about 350 people when I left the call center business. Yeah. It's like air traffic control kind of stress, But I was in a position where I had some money saved and I knew I wanted to change into something I was more passionate about. So I actually went to the Aurora store because they had an ad for a parts counter guy. And I was like, well, I love motorcycles and this is what I want to do. And if that gets my foot in the door, I feel that, being who I am and as driven as I am, I can parlay that into some type of career. So I went and talked to Ray Cooper, the original owner of Mile High Harley-Davidson. And he said, well, you don't have any experience. So, unless you want to wash motorcycles for $10 an hour, I really don't have anything for you. And I was like, well, Ray, I'll take it. And he goes, huh? And I said, yeah, I'll take it. So I started with Mile High Harley-Davidson in 2012, washing motorcycles for $10 an hour. And needless to say, today I'm the general manager of Mile High Harley-Davidson of Parker. I was the general manager over at the Aurora store for 8.5 years.
Wow.
So, I've been very, very fortunate with the opportunities presented in front of me, but that's what brings me to Mile High Harley-Davidson to get the long way to your end.
Yeah. I mean, what was your first experience with bikes? Was it in the military or when?
Yes. And before I just want to touch on something so epic that you said that, well, I think we both have talked to a lot of folks in this industry. And for somebody that's pursuing their passion, which is what you did, it's literally like whatever it takes. I will wash motorcycles for $10 an hour. Or I will sacrifice XYZ. Or it's not a road of like, oh, everything's going great in my life. I've got money falling out of my pockets. I think I'd like to get into motorcycles or whatever it is. But it's that desire back to adversity.
So true.
The desire to participate in that to get to where you're sitting now.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to acknowledge that because I've found that is another common theme, not just within motorcycles, but people that pursue their passions.
But I think in particular, because I know your story a little bit, and now I know yours, and we heard Garrett's earlier, which is it's the theme that gets you to here.
Yeah.
Like, Garrett had totally different lives, right? You had a totally different life. And you're like, but I want motorcycles to be part of the life. And you made that happen. And now it's how many years since being a car washer originally? Years out now?
So now we're 20. I became general manager of the Aurora store October of 2016.
Yeah. But when were you washing cars or washing bikes first?
So 2012 through till about 2014.
Okay.
I was basically a porter. While I was doing that, I was taking online technician classes because I was just doing everything I could to stay in this industry.
Gotcha.
So I came up through fixed stop, so washing motorcycles, then portering, then service consulting, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it all happened. I was just in a great position that it all happened very fast.
Yeah.
That I was in the right place at the right time multiple times.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And willing to put in the work.
Yeah. To Phil's point, is like willing to show up and do the hard thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing.
Yeah. The
unsavory thing to bring a restaurant thing back into it.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Well played. That's right.
Well, see what you did there. Well,
We do share a common little past. You asked about my first motorcycle. It was in Germany. I was stationed in Germany. And in Germany at the time, if you did not have a motorcycle endorsement from the States, you could not ride a motorcycle in Europe. And I was not going to let that stop me. So with no experience, I bought a motorcycle, a ZX6R, 1999 or something. A guy had to go get it and ride it to where I was. I didn't even know how to ride. And so you went into a bush, and within the first 2 weeks, I was in a ditch.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I mean, I fortunately I had a friend who had a Harley that kind of taught me some things. But yeah, that was, I was a car guy. I was a Fast and Furious. I remember the first time I was around these guys with motorcycles, and it was this presence, and it was this like smell and just the soul aspect of it. It made me feel a certain way that a car never did. And I was like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think we kind of share that. Like,
yeah. And for me, mine actually was, I said this to Garrett earlier, is grew up on a farm in New Jersey, grew up in a rural area in New Jersey. And for me, it was the same thing. It was a moped.
Yeah.
And my buddy managed to get one too. And in New Jersey, you couldn't get your driver's license until you're 17. And you live in the middle of nowhere, you got to get something. Right? And you didn't need a license. You didn't need an endorsement. And so me and my buddy started riding those things around everywhere, starting at age 15, maybe younger. We treated it like dirt bikes. We treated it like street bikes, that's where I learned how to work mechanically on a lot of different things, right? Because the only way you're getting home is if you know how to fix it.
Yeah.
Right. Because it constantly was not working.
Yeah.
Right. And
call those A to B bikes.
Yeah. Exactly. And like get all the way wound out and you're like, oh man, I'm going to die at, it's only 35 miles an hour if tops. And so, yeah, I mean, and like you said, you got that little taste.
Yeah.
And for us and for me and my buddy Dave, that was how we got around. And it was just so fun.
Yeah.
And so much stupidity.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't trade for anything. Yeah. Right. I mean, yeah. So speaking of stupidity, what's the what's sort of the dumbest thing you saw out there that you could say on air that that maybe you saw on the road, or you were like, oh man, I'm glad I survived today. We've all done dumb things and we survived them, and it makes it stronger, I think. And by the way, I'm your lawyer, so it's all confidential.
Yeah, there's no cameras.
There's no camera in it.
The list is endless, and the words are many, and I don't know how much time we have. So.
Yeah, that's right. What came to top of mind is like the funniest thing? How about that? The funniest?
How about one of the coolest experiences I ever had on a motorcycle on the road?
Yeah.
I had a gal on the back of my 650 Yamaha Special. It was a 78. And we were going I-25 north towards Northglenn, and there was kind of like, how those junk collector trucks, like, the flatbeds that just have stuff coming out everywhere, and it's all bungee corded in. Back then it was bungee cords, not ratchet straps, right? Mm-hmm. So we're riding, and as we're going over those expansion joints right over by the Commerce City where the oil refinery is, they hit an expansion joint, and you kind of saw everything in the back kind of shift. So I was like, oh man, I better get out of this lane. So then he hit the next expansion joint, and a piece of plywood came up out of the back of that truck, and it was heading right for us. And I literally just put my hand straight out. It hit my hand, and I carried it over our head.
You're like the Matrix.
It was like the Matrix. I know it sounds like BS, but this really happened. And I mean, it was probably like, by 5. It wasn't huge, and it just happened so almost like a ballet move,
Right.
And right over our head. And right after I did that, I looked at the car next to us, and they were going, like, shit, that really happened.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, if that thing would have hit us, we'd have been.
Oh yeah.
We would have been smoked.
That's amazing, and just also that is an underappreciated thing about motorcycle riding, which is situational awareness.
Yes.
Right. You're like, oh, something terrible is about to happen. With the Sanford and Son truck in front of me.
Yeah.
And I better pay attention.
Yeah.
Right? And in a car, you can be just in a daze and have no idea what's happening. I actually told a story this past weekend where I'm coming back. We're in college, it's senior week, and we're driving back from an amusement park in my friend's convertible, and a truck in front of us, something similar. And it was the same thing, a piece of plywood like this, and it goes up in the air and like, hit it. And my friend just hits the gas, and it missed the top of our heads by, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Crazy,
but
right?
To be conscious of knowing that if we speed up right now, we can go right under it, right?
That's right.
That's, you're always looking 10 cars ahead when you're on the bike, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's the rule of thumb. And I'll tell you, you bring that up. I noticed that the difference from being in my truck to being on my bike, even though I ride a lot, you get that false sense of security when you're inside that cage, right?
Yep.
I notice things faster on the bike than I do when I'm in my truck. And I still try to keep that situational awareness going. But, that's the thing about being out on the road. And, I tell my wife all the time, who loves to ride with me. She's the best backpack in the world. And I say that with all due respect. But I tell her all the time, if something goes down, just know that I did everything I could to evade, avoid, and do my part to be a responsible rider. Yeah. I'm not the one out there that's going to be going 110 miles an hour splitting cars and stuff.
Right.
I think as long as you share the road right, everybody can get along out there.
Yeah, for sure.
We've got enough to worry about. Just getting on those 2 wheels every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that, in this dealership, 90% of our staff ride to work every day.
Yeah.
Every single one of us wear gear. Every single one of us wear helmets. We absolutely advocate for that, because you want to be safe.
Yeah,
you want to be safe out there, right? If you want to enjoy it, put yourself in the best position you can to be out there and enjoy it.
Yeah, we have the perfect opportunity to ask we're talking about these things, and then especially out on the highway, I personally think in a non-aggressive way, you almost need like an offensive kind of mindset.
100%.
Totally.
You're talking about being a defensive driver, you need to be a sort of an offensive motorcyclist.
Yep.
Take things into your own hands.
Absolutely.
To stay safe.
No, I agree 100%. And I think just head on a swivel, situational awareness, seeing, like you said, 10 cars ahead, see what's going on. Be aware. I mean, that's the best you can do. And like you said about with your wife is, I'm going to do the best I can.
Yep.
And a lot of times there's not a whole lot you can do. That doesn't matter in life. It doesn't matter what you're riding, what you're in, your car or truck or whatever. And I think one of the things that I'm impressed with Mile High Harley is what you just said, is that everybody's here loves to ride, right?
Yeah.
And that brings kind of back to the whole concept of community. And, for people who don't know, tell people about what is a HOG chapter. People hear about this stuff. I found, when I first got involved in the motorcycle world and started learning about this stuff, it just is such a special thing that's unique to Harley in particular. But if you could explain, what HOG chapters are, what community means, how does that all work?
Sure. Funny you should bring that up, because I was just talking to somebody this last Saturday, and we were talking about, we've ridden, every make, every OEM out there, sport bikes, street bikes, dirt bikes. When I used to travel, I would never go somewhere and say, hey, where's the local Honda shop? Hey, where's the local Kawasaki shop? Right?
Right.
But as soon as I took my first trip after being a Harley rider, as soon as the plane landed, I was looking up the Harley-Davidson dealership, right? So therein lies, I believe, no matter what you ride, you are part of the motorcycling community, period.
Right.
I wave to people on Spiders. I wave to people on sport bikes. I wave to people on brats, those little brats.
Yeah. Right.
If you're on two wheels and you got the guts to be out on that road, you're in my family, But with Harley, there's just a different soul. It comes back to that common denominator of that soul, right? So the Harley Owners Group, a lot of people don't know that a dealership has to decide to charter a HOG chapter, right? We sponsor our chapters. So it's a core group of people that are just passionate motorcycle enthusiasts that love the brand of Harley-Davidson, right? They love the motorcycle, and it gives them an opportunity to have fellowship within that, without having to be, part of a motorcycle club and get that stigma, even though our HOG people still get that stigma of being in a motorcycle gang, Right. But isn't it funny?
Yeah,
I think it's hilarious.
Right.
I am not only, the general manager of this store. I am a national HOG member, and I am a local member of our chapter that we sponsor at this store. And I proudly wear my vest that has my patches on them, and once a month.
What's your road name?
I don't have a road name.
Okay.
But I would say.
Okay. So if you see in person, we'll see your patch.
Yeah. Well, my nickname is Bam Bam. And that just comes because one of my other passions is I'm a drummer. So I've had that nickname for a long time. So it's just kind of carried everywhere with me.
Gotcha.
But, once a month we have a board meeting here. The HOG chapter is directed by a board that, puts rides together throughout the year. The chapter that we have here at Mile High Harley-Davidson of Parker, our chapter did over 100 rides last year. And I think they did 5 or 6 overnights
Nice.
They do the hog rally every year, you know, and that's what the hog chapter is about. It's about fellowship, and it's about getting out and riding your motorcycle, because why do we have these things?
Right.
If not to go ride and experience that passion and that freedom that we get while we're on our bikes.
Yes. And one of the things that speaks to me, and this is, you know, one of the things I love about Mile High Harley and your hog chapters, is also community and philanthropy and giving, and it's super important to me. And I know you guys do a lot of that. And I you know, please share like what's on the horizon this year, how you guys get involved, you know, what's important to you all.
For sure. Well, as you know, just this last Sunday, you know, we hosted the International Female Ride Day. They launched the ride from here. I know when you walked in, you saw the big balloon arch over on the one wall, and that was from the ride this past Sunday. We had over 125 female riders here.
Oh, wow.
About 50% more of that on guys that had to ride behind the ladies. But so, you know, we get into community events like that. Obviously, Mile High Harley-Davidson has been involved with the Children's Hospital Toy Run for a lot of years. When Rocky Mountain Harley-Davidson closed down, the former owners officially asked us to be the dealer of record to ensure that that tradition continues. So we gladly took the torch on that.
And you did such a great job taking the torch, too.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Well, and your involvement is priceless on that. I don't think you...
Yeah, we love it.
You don't ever toot your own horn. Like you are very important to this riding community. You know, so we do things like that. And then where the hog chapter is concerned, you know, we sponsor and adopt the highway portion off of Highway 105. Unfortunately, we lost a couple hog members a few years back on this intersection.
Oh, boy.
So we adopted the highway there. So we go out and we clean that portion of the highway, you know, once a month. We do charity events here where they'll come and pour beer, you know, and donate the money that the proceeds from that. We also, here at Mile High Harley-Davidson of Parker, we're also, since I've been at this store, I've been very, very, I've really been working on getting plugged into the local community here, because you would be amazed at how many business owners have had businesses in Parker for 30 years that don't know they have a local Harley-Davidson shop. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I've gotten plugged in with the Rotary Club. I've gotten plugged in with the Chamber of Commerce. We host mixers and things like that here with them. So we've had a couple of those events. We've got a couple more of those events coming up as well. You know, really anything. We're going to be involved with Parker Days that's happening over Father's Day weekend. To get our name out there and things like that, and then partnering with you on some good stuff, you know?
Yeah.
We try to get involved in everywhere we can, especially where riders are concerned. So
yeah, and it's all part of what's important to me and important to my firm is the community aspect too.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's in the end of the day what brings us all together. And it can be sometimes, you know, I always joke that like Harley riders in particular will get together for a group charity ride to like save a kitten.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
absolutely.
Like, yeah, they're just psyched to be together and like and help. And but I want to pivot because I want to back up because you had some really interesting prior lives. And I have a buddy who was sort of that what do you call it, executive chef. So big concepts, doing different stuff. And he has a story about stabbing a guy. And
okay.
And
this is where we're going.
It's Josh, and from well, anyway, I'll leave out where he's from. But anyway,
last name.
Yeah, exactly. I'm wondering, you know, what was your, you know, any fun or crazy high pressure situations in a kitchen? Because we all relate to it now, and now we've all watched the Bear or whatever, and you know, now I guess when I'm have to see, I'm gonna have to call you Yes Chef, and then just like go from there. But are there any fun stories from that era of your life?
Before you start, I'm gonna say one of my favorite books is Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I read that and I was like, that's what this is?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Please.
Anthony Bourdain, the Godfather. You know, that guy was something else, man.
Was something else.
What a guy. Getting choked up. But wow. Again, I mean, so many stories, you know, every decade is a whole nother life, right?
Totally.
You got so many stories. Fun one. So I started out very young. I mean, I started off as a young teenager, dishwashing, bussing tables, prep cook, all that stuff. Remember Perkins Family Restaurant?
Oh, yeah.
I think there might still be a couple here in Colorado.
It used to be one of my favorites.
Yeah. I worked for them for about 15 years. And I became a kitchen manager at 19.
Oh my God.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you, nobody could tell me nothing. I was the bee's knees, baby.
Yeah.
I knew it all, right?
Yeah.
And up here I did, right? So I'll never forget, it was like a Sunday morning, and that's your moneymaker in the breakfast house business, right? And I had a couple of cooks kind of getting mouthy with me in the morning. And, you know, I was like, hey, man, you're not playing my show. You can just hit the road, buddy.
Yeah.
And 3 cooks walked out on me.
Oh, they're like, all right.
Like right before Sunday morning, you know, you know, and it was like, whoa. So I told this, I said to a dishwasher, I said, you're going to have to help me out. And he got a little mouthy with me. And I basically said some explicitives to him, you know, and I turned around to walk away from him. And I didn't know, but one of the prep cooks, all of a sudden I hear boom, 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 boom. And I turn around and I see both of them kind of going over this tower of glasses, like the glass racks.
Right.
And he's like, boss, he was coming at you with a knife. So there's my knife story.
You'll live and tell the tale.
Yeah, so my general manager came back. Yeah. So my general manager came back, and him and I basically cooked through the church rush.
Literally hand-bagged it.
Yeah, and I was like, you know, if you want to keep your job, you're going to figure out how to get these guys back. So that was my first lesson in absolute humility as a manager.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah, that's one for you.
So Bourdain says in that book, never go to brunch.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. What are your thoughts?
I agree.
That's a good question.
I agree. Yeah. Go to brunch. It's like a cattle call.
It's like leftovers and
yeah. No.
Somebody ruined hollandaise sauce for me yesterday. Sure, you know you are. He's like, really, you're gonna order that hollandaise sauce on that? I'm like, I like eggs Benedict. Why are you screwing eggs Benedict?
That's what I had for breakfast this morning.
Right. If it was called like yellow mayonnaise, it wouldn't be cool, but it's hollandaise.
It's hollandaise.
Right. So that leads to a good question. What's your favorite ride food? We're out on a ride. You're going maybe somewhere long. What's your go-to on the ride?
You know, I try to stay off of carbs, high protein, and vegetables when I'm out riding. Because the last thing I want to do is get sleepy.
Yeah.
So I'm not eating biscuits and gravy.
Right.
You know, I mean, it pretty much, you know, burger without the bun kind of thing. Yeah. A salad with some protein, something like that. I try to stay away from, I try to, you know, get foods that are going to, you know, pump me up. Right, and make me sloppy.
Totally. Yeah, no sugar, no big burrito.
Correct.
Right. And I know for some, a burrito is like a go-to easy thing.
Absolutely.
To be in the pouch somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, every poker run starts with a breakfast burrito, right?
Yeah.
Instead of like famous green chili. Oh, where else have I seen your work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's the one, you know, the big event coming up community-wise is this year, is it the 40th for the Children's Toy?
Yeah. 40.
Oh, wow. Which is crazy. I know we've already had meetings and we're trying to figure all this stuff out. Tell me, I guess, what that means to you all. I know it means a lot to me, but what does it mean to you guys and the community?
Well, you know, I've said this many, many times, and you know, I could disappear today. You could disappear tomorrow. And the Children's Hospital Toy Run will continue.
Yes.
It is an entity in it of itself now. It's bigger than any one of us. It's bigger than any dealership. Bigger than any sponsor. You know, there are so many people that have been connected from the get-go. That
and the same faces year after year,
absolutely
dedicating their time off duty, on duty. Hog chapter members,
and you know, I'll tell you, being in my position in this industry, you know, the truth of the matter is, in retail, you can never make everybody happy. right? Whether restaurant business, motorcycle business,
legal business,
you can't fulfill everybody's absolute needs, right? Yep. So I've had situations where, I've had to agree to disagree and agree to part ways with people in my store. And then we see each other at a Children's Hospital Toy Run meeting or something, or we are working together to direct traffic in a parking lot. And all of a sudden, everything that we were disagreeing about doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
What matters is that we're part of this community and that we are helping each other for the greater good. And to your point, bikers will get together to save a snail.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And that is where the true community lies with the Harley. And well, not only just Harley, all motorcycling.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, yesterday, my wife and I were riding the 105. And, we were just her and I on our Road King. We didn't have any other of our friends with us. But on the road at one point, we wound up behind a couple of Indian riders. And then there was a sport bike rider behind me. And I'll tell you, the four of us were just like playing, doing the ballet and just all riding together seamlessly. Like you would think that we were riding together for a long, long time with the way we were being intuitive and making sure that we were covering each other in the lanes and things. And, so the community aspect of the Children's Hospital Toy Run is just unmatched. It's like something I've never seen. I'm a father of 5. I have personally dealt with Children's Hospital, working with a couple of my children.
Same here, actually.
And I'll tell you, it's like I've got a personal vested interest in this myself. And then you realize how many people really have that vested interest, So the 40th, I think it doesn't matter what it means to me. Just the fact that it's the 40th tells you what it means to the community.
Totally. That's a great way to put it.
That it's still going.
Right.
It's still going. We're still doing it. And, any little piece that I can play in that to ensure that it continues to go, I'm absolutely honored to do that.
Yeah.
And blessed to have that in my life. So.
Yeah. I think that's probably a good place to wrap up is community, helping each other, taking care of each other. Like you said, a long legacy, whether we're gone today or tomorrow. Those kind of things are going to live on. And so is the motorcycling community.
Yeah.
As we move forward into this world where everything is automated and whatever, it's going to be the only thing that's real on the road. And in some ways, right?
You're right.
It's the only thing, like you alluded to earlier, that's going to have a soul. And I think that's what ties so many of us together on that.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time today.
Absolutely. It was great talking to you.
Yeah. Thank you,
Chef.
Yeah, exactly.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Appreciate it. And let's wrap it up. Another great episode of Ice on the Ride.
Fantastic.